Hello, my dear audiences, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow. Once again, when I say back to the show, I mean to get back to the discussion about the victory, the commemoration of the World War II and the victory over World War II. And today, this year, we're celebrating its 70th anniversary. And for that, lots of people are engaged in different kinds of activities. 2 days ago, there was here in the studio, EDI along with the G&E Studio joined in partnership with the International Culture and Art Exchange Society and many other organizations in putting together a big concert in commemoration to the 70th anniversary, also as a gift to mothers to celebrate Mother's Day, called Flowers of May to Mother's Day, right? That event. The event is going to be on the 24th of May in St. Gabriel's Mission Playhouse. And there's going to be lots of fun and lots of positive message that you can take that event. So, and also, according to Mark, that I learned, May Day, there is a big protest calling for apology as versus the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's statement made in front of the congressional houses. Okay. And Ken Hemming, my good friend, a wonderful writer, and I take him as a philosopher, joins us today in sharing his thought about wars, especially World War II. And Mark Liu, my good friend, the founder and the CEO of the Commemoration Committee of Nanking Massacre, he's the founder and the CEO. He leads lots of campaign, and he himself participated in the May Day rally, downtown Los Angeles, right? So to both of you, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Sure, thank you very much. As you audiences, my dear audience, can see, we, the three of us, are dressed so formally to make it so remarkable that it is a serious show that we're talking about. It is a serious call that every or any peace-loving individual would like to make. Yeah, to call on people to be peace-loving, to condemn wars, to condemn warlords, and in the meantime, we give our mothers, especially mother. Mother stands for, in the broader sense, not my own mother, your mother, but mothers of sons and daughters. Anybody can be, right? Any woman can be, who, especially in war times, have sacrificed. Okay?
So much.
Not only the fact of having lost their sons and daughters, but the fact that she has to, or they as women, as mothers, have to spend the rest of their lives
in commemoration of the
loss, and missing their kids, right? So like
missing
that.
their children.
Okay, now, what do you think, Uri, about all those activities that's going on in the commemoration piece?
Well, one very strong memory I have, Jack, this is the 70th anniversary right now. If you remember the 50th anniversary, and I was alive and well at that time, it was massive and it was tremendous. And at D-Day, at the beaches over there, and that there were unbelievable activities. And now we're running out of veterans of World War II, okay? All of the combatants from that war, they're dying very fast. So it's something that cannot be forgotten. Mark always says that, history lives as long as people remember and talk about it. And we have to all together do that.
Exactly.
And it is very healthy when prior enemies do come together with some mutual interest for a better future.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And Mark, I believe that Ken has made a very, very serious point, meaning that even the anniversaries goes into its 70th year so. Yes. Suppose those soldiers, those veterans were 20 years old at that time. Right. Now they're 90.
They are
Right.
fading away.
We have to hurry up to make it possible, as much as possible, to let their memories be
Yes.
learned by people of our age, by people our next generation, and it goes on and on forever into posterity.
Yes.
That the lessons we learn from wars,
Yeah.
right? And the lessons we learn how cruel the enemies were, the lessons we learn about how severe, right? How big a problem to have lost their loved ones, and also with the cost of wars. I have a
Yes.
summary about the cost of wars from a U.S. congressional record, though. It is so much importance, right? Do you think that the your May Day event calls for that?
May Day event,
Yeah.
called by, I didn't quite follow.
Yeah, your May Day event. What was the purpose for, the theme of your May Day event?
The May Day event is the time we should always retrospect and recall the May Day, because I thought, well, as Ken mentioned, I always say history lives when people remember. If people forgot the history, it means that it's doomed to be repeat the history again.
Yeah.
And we should remember those days for one purpose, that human beings have to learn something from the history. If we don't learn, it will repeat again. And those atrocities,
Yeah.
those are human massacres, slaughters, and those crimes will come back to our somehow come back to our life, and we don't want to have that any
Sure,
longer.
exactly, exactly.
So this is the meaning that we are learning. We are going to have to be wiser to know the better decision, how to avoid this kind of crime to happen again. I call the war as a crime. So those criminals of the war, warlords, should be punished. And let's remember that we have to emphasize something about justice, righteousness, not tolerate even at the beginning of any sign of those war crimes. And the wrongdoing should be justified.
I see.
So that's also why we demand apologize of those invaders.
Okay, I understand. What you're saying, your statement is quite all right. It's 100% correct in a broader sense. What I meant to say was that to follow Ken's lead, that he emphasized on the emergency of that issue, because the living fossils, the living witnesses are dying. They are at least 90 years old, right? If we are lucky, we can have one to talk to us, but we're not that lucky yet, because they are kind of leaving us, right? So he calls for the emergency of it. The necessity of this year's celebration is even more, right? Of course, 170 years later, 100 years later, when we were celebrating the 170 years anniversaries, we'll still do the same thing. But right now we're talking about they are still alive, right? So for that, I would and all my audiences to answer the call that made by G&E Studio at this show, that to hurry up, right? To do a better job, more condensed job in awakening people to do the issue, to emphasize on the issue, because the living fossils are, quote unquote, they are.
And one thing that's happening right now as they're passing away, there were 70 years of remorse about the anti-Jewish and concentration camps, and now throughout Europe and even in Germany now, there are some anti-Semitic emotions that are recurring.
Sure.
It's starting to build power again, which is forgetting what we've learned from history.
You just mentioned the fact that the father of Abi
Yes, sir.
was kind of involved, right? Do you know that?
He was.
How was he really involved?
I think it's his
Grandfather.
grandfather.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How was he involved with the China invasion?
He was also a war criminal.
A
But I don't know
politician.
why a politician during those days, he works for the government on a very important job, and he somehow like supported the war.
Very much.
Yeah, very much,
Yeah,
deeply
very much.
involved.
I see. How much do you know about his grandfather?
Well, I know that actually the grandfather came to America and did talk with people in America in some sort of try to reconciliation, but that he was accused of war crimes but was not indicted and prosecuted. And but you know,
Why wasn't he not? Why wasn't he indicted?
well, you know, there was a lot more. There were very few Japanese war criminals that were actually convicted and executed.
I see.
And many more Germans were. And it was all about trying to pacify, I believe, the Japanese population to accept the defeat more and not like fight to the death, which they would have if we had.
You know why? You know why? A friend of mine, Chris Neby, a
Yes, sir.
director and producer of several documentaries, he found out it was the U.S. and Japan treaty to end the war, because U.S. want their records, their war records during wartime, including lab test records.
Right,
to the
from
extremity
Unit
of
733.
human bodies, so that as exchange, in exchange, their warlords, war crimes are not executed, are not prosecuted.
Especially the royal family.
The
Right.
royal families,
Exactly.
right? Okay. My dear audience, today is one of the very, very important shows that we are trying to put together for you. I believe in commemoration of the 70th anniversary of people, human race winning the World War II, we have done, well, if not a dozen, I would say no less than 10 shows already. I will check my producer for the record and I'll let you know next time. And we will still want to do again and again and again every time we get well, our hands on. Today, joining me, I have my great friends, Ken Hemming, a writer. I have Mark Liu, a political commentator, and they are joining us in the discussion about the commemoration, and also we're talking about the activities. Right now, we're at the point about the grandfather of Shinzo Abe, the foreign minister, the prime minister of Japan. Was a warlord, war crime, criminals, right? And yet, well, went on for free. So stay with us. We'll be right back, please.